What I got here is the Sony FX30. It basically looks the same as the FX3. It has the same kind of body, the same kind of buttons, and the same kind of display. Everything kind of looks the same except for the sensor, because this is an APS-C camera. What do I think about it though? You hear that? Yeah, I'm just gonna have to power through this. I just want to start out by saying, hey, welcome to the channel. If you haven't watched me before, my name is Peter Lindgren. I'm from Sweden, and I'm glad you found this video. I know people don't really like when you're doing these kind of intros in the beginning. They say, like, get to the point of the camera. Well, I got the camera right here. We are going to talk about it, but I just want to make the point that if you haven't subscribed, that'd be highly appreciated. And once you're done watching the video, give it a like if you enjoy it. As you probably know, if you've been here on the channel before or watched any of my previous videos, I've been shooting Sony for a very long time. I know the inside and outsides of my Sony a7S3. I've been shooting with the Sony a7 III, a7R III, and the a6600, the a6000. There's so many different cameras that I've tried out during the course of my career, but I've never really been a huge fan of APS-C cameras ever since I went over to full frame. This camera, on the other hand, is not really a regular APS-C camera, because this is a Cinemaline Sony camera that definitely feels sturdy and very well built, because it has the same kind of things as the FX3, as I said. And you also have the built-in image stabilization of the sensor, but as you can see, the sensor is way smaller than on a full frame camera. This is something that takes a little bit of time to get used to if you're used to using full frame cameras, because basically what that means is that if you're using full frame glass, such as the 12-24, then this would be an equivalent to approximately 15 to 35 or 16-35. It basically makes everything that you shoot a little bit tighter because you don't have the same field of view. But looking at the top of the camera here, you can definitely see that it has a lot of things from its bigger brother, the FX3. In the front here, you can see that there's no full frame text because it's an APS-C camera. And then this slide, I don't know what it is, but it is a little bit smaller than it is on the FX3 as well. You do have the same kind of batteries that you got on the a7S3 and the FX3 as well, the Z100 batteries. These batteries are by far some of the best camera batteries that I've used for the size that they are in. The other ones that they have for like the a6500, when I was using that, you had to have like 18 of those to be able to shoot one single day. It was insane. You have the micro USB and the USB-C and a full-size HDMI port together with the audio in and audio out, which I think is pretty cool considering that this is an APS-C camera. Once again, of course, it's a part of the Cinema line, which I love, but it also makes it a very, very potent APS-C camera. For me personally, I'm not really that used to shooting with an APS-C camera, so it was definitely a change trying to vlog with this when I was in Iceland compared to my regular a7S III that I got here in studio. But if you have a wide enough lens, it's not really gonna be an issue because the camera works great. It is a fantastic piece of tech. You have the 4K 120, the 10-bit, the 16-bit RAW if you wanna have that output. You can attach the XLR handle to this, and you also have two different memory card slots that you can use, both which take CF Express Type A. Cannot recommend those cards enough because they have been so good when it comes to speeding up my workflow. You also have the possibility to load in your personal LUT into this if you want to do that, and the base ISO of this compared to the a7S III is 800, as to where on the a7S III it is 640. Don't really think that that is much of a difference because you can force it down to 200. It's not going to give you the perfect output, but honestly, in my videos, no one can ever tell a difference on what ISO that I've used for my videos. As I was using this camera, I did feel a little bit limited about the crop factor that you get when you're shooting an APS-C compared to a full frame, and all the lenses that I got for my cameras are full frame lenses, which meant that I had to take a step back, or 4 steps back, or even 10 steps back to be able to frame the same kind of shot with this camera that I can do with my a7S III kind of quickly. But even though it made me feel a little bit limited with what I could shoot, it also opens up new possibilities because you get the crop factor. So if you want to use a 100 to 500 lens, then you can actually get 150 to 750 lens because of the crop factor that you get with this camera. There's definitely both pros and cons with an APS-C camera and with the full frame. So it's kind of coming down to what you feel is going to be the perfect fit for your workflow. But I can also see this being used on the Sony AirPeak, for example, as a drone camera when you want to have a little bit more telezoom without putting on two big lenses on the actual camera so that the drone still can shoot those super tight parallax shots. And I can also see a lot of production companies going to buy this as their secondary camera because you get a little bit more reach with this camera, and it's also a cheaper version of the FX3, which means that it's also a disposable camera for bigger productions. If you want to have some tight shots, if you want to mount it on places where you don't want to put a bigger camera, so even a C camera if you may, because the FX3 might be a B camera. So when it comes down to my personal verdict of this camera, I gotta say, first off, Sony did not sponsor this video at all, nor do they have anything to say about this video before I post it, because I'm posting this without them actually looking at the video. But I like this camera a whole lot because I love the FX3 form factor. I think it's great, but I'm not a huge fan of the APS-C sensor. I've been using full frame for so long so that everything that I do is like thinking in that kind of field of view. When you have to apply a 1.5 times crop onto your thoughts and onto your videos, then it kind of gets a little bit hard to know what kind of lens that you need for what kind of shot. As an entry-level camera, I would have loved for this to exist when I picked up my first camera. This is such a good camera for anyone that wants to step up and get to the next level without paying the price of an FX3 or a Sony a7S III. Not only is the camera cheaper, but also the lenses are way cheaper than full frame lenses. So as a beginner's entry-level camera, or someone that wants to start their own business but don't have the huge budget for the full frame lenses and that kind of stuff, this is going to be a perfect option. And I love the fact that Sony drops this and you get the same kind of feature that the FX3 gets, just with a smaller sensor. I think that that is pretty cool. I want to know, what do you think about the FX30? And what do you think about this new setup? I have a little bit of light here. I have this angle right here, inspiration from Gerald. But do drop a comment on your camera, the setup, if there's anything that we could change. And don't forget to subscribe. That'd be härliga appreciate. Peter från Sweden, saying goodbye.